Here are 13 money habits that are keeping you poor. I'm gonna start off with a bunch of obvious ones and then we'll get into the real list. Don't get in credit card debt. Don't impulse buy things. Cancel your unused memberships. Try to stick to a budget and start saving money. Cool, now that those ones are out of the way, let's get into the real list. Number 1 is spending for convenience. There are countless food delivery services and online shopping platforms that are convenient but are costing you money. Apps like Uber Eats, DoorDash and Menulog are used by hundreds of millions of people worldwide, and it's costing Americans an average of $77 every month. These food delivery apps are expensive, with Uber Eats charging a 30% fee to businesses. There's also service and delivery fees, added costs for busy times, and tipping included too. A $10 meal served at a restaurant can easily become $22 on Uber Eats, so you're paying an extra $12 just for convenience. There's also shopping apps like Amazon that have next day and even same day delivery, and also buy it now buttons that make it ever so easy to make an impulse purchase. So before buying something for convenience, check your fridge or your pantry, or even spend just 5 minutes preparing an item that would have cost double or maybe even triple just for it being convenient. Number 2 is champagne taste on a beer budget. This basically just refers to someone who lives above their means and pays for things that they simply can't afford. Ultimately, you can splurge every now and then, but if you're buying something for the look or simply the name brand, you're wasting your money and will be in for a huge shock upon retiring. Number 3 is upgrading phones frequently. Phones are expensive, like super expensive, and I often see people upgrading them every single year, and it just makes me wonder why. Smartphones nowadays are so advanced that they can last for years and years, and with only slight upgrades coming out every single year, there's no need to be buying a new phone yearly. You could argue that the camera's better or it's 15% quicker, but I think you're just over consuming and trying to keep up with the Joneses when last year's model is perfectly capable of lasting for years to come. If you argue about storage space, buy a cloud storage subscription. My phone was slowing down a little bit, so I started spending $1.50 a month on an iCloud subscription, and it backs up all my photos and it's super quick again. All in all, I think that you won't see much of a difference between a 2020 and a 2021 model. Number 4 is shopping as a reward. I use online shopping as a way to reward myself after a tough week of work or even just working in general. While it's good to treat yourself every so often, if you're doing it weekly or after every single bad day, it will cost you a lot of money. Instead, set an amount of money aside each week that you can dedicate to spending on whatever you'd like. This means that you won't miss out, but then you also won't be shopping daily or weekly as a reward for doing the bare minimum. Bad money habit number 5 is shopping out of boredom. Along with shopping as a reward, shopping out of boredom is an even dumber method that's keeping you poor. Basically, just don't shop out of boredom. If you find yourself aimlessly scrolling on clothing websites or marketplaces, put down your phone and find something more productive to do. It could be as simple as going for a walk, playing with your pets, or just reading a book. Also, if you find that you're shopping out of boredom daily, delete all of those apps off of your phone and don't save your credit card information online. Number 6 is spending a lot of time or effort to try to save money. We always want the best deals on our purchases, but if you're spending a lot of time trying to save just a bit of money, you may as well just go with the more expensive option to begin with. I find that this kind of thing happens so frequently on Facebook Marketplace. One time I was selling these 2 IKEA drawers for like $100, and retail they were going for about $160. I had so many people offering to come pick them up when they lived 2 and even 3 hours away. 3 hours, that's a 6-hour round trip for a saving off of a retail price of $60. When you factor in petrol and time, it just becomes a waste of time and money, and you may as well just pay for the brand new item instead. If you're spending so much time or traveling far distances for a small saving, You really have to weigh in with yourself, am I really saving money? Or should I just pay for the brand new product instead? Number 7 is hiding money from yourself with fear of spending it. Basically, you just have to learn how to manage your own finances. I hate hearing people who lock their savings accounts from fear that they're gonna spend the money. Saving money is basically a life skill, much like cooking or cleaning. If you lock the money in another account, then you're just delaying the inevitable. You might argue, oh, but it's the best way for me to save money. But I think that if you can't go into your banking app and see different figures and go, I'm comfortable with this amount here and I'm not gonna spend it, then you will always be bad with money. While you might not be good at saving money in the beginning, when you have the open accounts, much like walking, you just have to practice, and you'll eventually get really good at it and be so thankful that you learned the life skill of saving. Tip number 8 is ignoring financial advice. There's quite literally financial advice everywhere. On your internet, social media, on billboards and advertising, it's literally everywhere. Unfortunately, many people tend to ignore these messages because they're overwhelmed by the complexity of finance. So basically, just don't ignore finance advice. Just take it with open ears. Obviously, not all finance advice is going to be good. So you just have to kind of wade through the crap, and you'll eventually find some really good and helpful financial advice. Number 9 is in-app purchases. This one's pretty straightforward, and it's basically just to avoid paying for in-app purchases. Basically, just avoid paying for in-app purchases because little payments will creep up on you and just cost a lot over a long period, like I've mentioned. And also, there's millions of apps that are free and have awesome features that don't require in-app purchases whatsoever. Remember that $2 a day adds up to $730 within a year, so think about your purchases in the bigger picture. Number 10 is using afterpay. Afterpay is the easiest way to spend money that you don't currently have. Afterpay works like this. It splits a purchase into 4 transactions, with your first payment with purchase and the rest over 6 weeks with fortnightly installments. There's no interest until you miss a payment. Then you're charged $10 along with $7 a week if you fail to keep up with the repayments. The main problem I have with Afterpay is that it makes people more comfortable with spending a lot more money because in the moment it seems like less money because it's split over the 4 transactions. Afterpay earned nearly $100 million in 2021 through late fees alone, and that number is expected to rise to $340 million by 2023, so it's safe to say that many people aren't making their repayments on time. I've never used these apps and I've always stuck to a principle of if I can't pay for the product in full or even 2 times the product, then I'll just wait and save more money until I can afford it. Number 11 is not setting goals. Whether it's a personal or a financial goal, it's always good to set one so you've got something to strive for and aim to achieve by the year's end or even for the next 5 years. A personal goal could be like applying for a new job that's better paying or even just getting a raise from your current job. And a finance goal could be like, I want to save for a down payment of a house or I want to just save for an emergency fund. Without goals like personal or financial goals, you're kind of just aimlessly treading through life with no clear decisions or a path to follow. Number 12 is being cheap. Buying cheap quality products may seem like an awesome deal, but you're sacrificing quality for the sake of $1. This means that the products you buy for cheap are often non-durable and will break or even become faulty, and just have a general shorter lifespan compared to the better quality and often more expensive counterpart. This leads you needing to buy a replacement and so on until you just fork out the money for the better quality one eventually. There are countless things that you shouldn't cheap out on, and that includes like bedding, mattresses, pet food, electronics, charging cables, and so many more. The final money habit that's keeping you poor is browsing social media. Social media can cost you a lot of money through influencer marketing, ads, and sponsored posts. You might not buy directly from the app, but the countless ads that pop up every 4 or so posts are forming an unconscious opinion about that brand and making you buy things without even realizing where you originally saw it from. Social media is also costing us money through comparison, and it makes us compare our lives to complete strangers on the internet. It makes us think that we need to keep up with trends and buy clothing and electronic pieces to stay in the know. All in all, these money habits are keeping you poor, whether you realize it or not. Anyways, I've recently created 2 videos on how being cheap and social media is keeping you poor. You can watch either of those videos here.